okay, into achieving good sustainable development. Okay, what we are presenting here today, a partnership between the regulator, the government, اللي عندها القانون, those are who are holding the law, and the regulated committee who are, okay, putting a commitment in their strategy to comply with these laws and regulations. How can we do that? We are a small country in Kuwait, okay? And we need to look at the current law, the current environmental law under Decision 210. When we look at the standards, okay, we see that they lack the actual meaning of a standard, okay, which means that the EPA is very serious of improving them. And Dr. Samir just presented the idea of amending 2 articles that were published this month, okay, which stemmed from our project, the KIMS, the Kuwait Integrated Environmental Management System. Okay, we wanted to segregate between what's ambient. Now, I see in Mr. Badr's presentation that they are going beyond their requirements and purchasing a monitoring station, okay, where they go around and monitor the air quality. And I want to tell you that's not their job. This is ambient standards. It's not the job of KPC, but they want to do this because they want to be good citizens. They want to help. They want to participate. They want to contribute. Okay? Then we look at performance standards. What do we mean by performance standards? It's end-of-the-pipe standard. Do we have end-of-the-pipe standards? No. All we have is ambient standards, and what we do, we take such standards and we give them to the oil sectors and we tell them, okay, you comply with them. Now, if the standards are exceeded in Himan, who do we blame? Do we blame KOC? Or do we blame KMPC? Or do we blame PIC? Or do we blame the poor private sector? Or is it our mood to go there, okay, and inspect and say, well, the political situation asks for us to violate X. Yeah, let's violate them. Why? Because we lack performance standards. We also lack technology standards. And this is the new era. What we want today is to put standards on technology to improve environmental quality. How can we do this? Okay, by establishing partnerships between, again, the regulator, the government, and the regulated community, being the oil sector. Okay, finally, we really have no enforcement mechanism. Okay, the good thing is EPA is willing to work with the oil sector to establish such enforcement mechanism. Now, what is the infrastructure we need to establish within the regulatory agency in order to facilitate, okay, understanding of the regulated community so we can establish this new partnership where everybody understands that at the end of the day, we want to protect the environment. We would like to set a plan, okay, where we want to improve air quality in Himan. Is 5 years enough? So we need to set some policies. And we have to establish baseline studies. And we have to establish assessment and approval procedures. We need to establish scientifically based and legally defensible inspection, monitoring, and enforcement. We have to establish good certified laboratories. We need training institutions in order to complete this picture of having good compliance by the regulated community and good enforcement by the regulator. So, but when we look at this, everybody thinks that we are going to create a rocket. We are going to get into rocket science. No, this is very simple, and I show you how are we solving it, how are we working on it, okay? Now, let's go to the oil sector. What do they need in order to show that they are good citizens and they want to comply? Okay, they would like to see, just like Mr. Badr said in his presentation, they would like to comply with appropriate international and national laws and regulations and guidelines and policies and permitting systems and inspection systems. coherent procedures for decisions and project activities. And I'm sure Mr. Bedr likes that. They would like to see clear procedures. How do we want to proceed, okay, into establishing our projects? We don't want to do environmental impact assessments today, okay, and some political activity goes there, and then you go to violate the industry, and they give you an environmental impact assessment, you give them, I don't give a damn, I don't care. So this has to be clarified, okay? Legislations with clearly defined responsibilities and appropriate liabilities. Enforceable standards for operations. When we say enforceable standards for operations, what does this mean? Are we talking about performance or ambient standards? We want to go beyond to establish these red lines where both can sit down, okay, and understand each other in order to achieve environmental protection. Now, I want this, and the list goes on, okay? What is the partnership drivers between the oil sector and the regulated community? Okay. Now, like I said, the oil sector is acting like a good citizen, and the regulators are willing to improve. Okay? Now, with the oil sector having management systems, okay, that can promote environmental protection, why don't get into self-regulation or self-policing where you set the goals together? You sit down with the regulator and you say, okay, let's set our goals together instead of going into this methodology of a stick and a carrot. Okay, we are in a small country where the oil sector is responsible for paying salaries of the regulator. How can we solve the problem? So we need innovative ways into getting into this. And we cannot do it the American way or the European way or the Japanese way. We have to establish our own methodology. If we achieve a goal at the end of the day so people can breathe clean air, why not do it? So the oil sector, or the oil in Kuwait, therefore, has a role to play in this situation by avoiding overburdening the limited services infrastructure that we talked about earlier within the EPA. It can play a valuable supporting role by fostering the government infrastructure, helping them together. And I will show you how we did it here. KOC already started. We started first by establishing the SKIME project. The SKIME project is supported by the United Nations Development Program. As you can see here, I have no hair. Okay, now I have hair, which means that happened 2-3 years ago. Okay, between EPA, represented by Dr. Salah Al-Madhi, and Dr. Adam, who is Qa'im Bil-A'mal in the UNDP, and Mr. Samir Shade, okay, we all decided to establish an environmental management system. But this is not going to be an industry-based environmental management system where the industry applies for ISO 14000 and the other ISOs. It is a country-based environmental management system. It's a regulatory-based management system where we put the two heads together. The strategy of the oil sector can be integrated with the strategy of the regulator to achieve the goal. What's the management system that we are talking about? The management system we are talking about is to identify goals, and we identify several goals. Okay, we want to improve environmental quality. We want to achieve sustainable development. We want to protect human health. We want to reduce risks. And at the end of the day, we want to prevent pollution. Okay, what is the methodology? Okay, we identified 3 methodologies, and this is again based on US EPA requirements.